The galaxy had known peace for 3,000 years. A long, quiet age that made most civilizations forget what real danger felt like. Worlds grew gentle. Armies turned into ceremony groups. Weapons became museum pieces. People everywhere believed that war was something ancient, something that could never return. They lived without fear, without doubt, without any thought that the peace could break. But humans were different. Humans remembered. They remembered stories of old wars, ancient invasions, and times when peace had broken without warning. Even after the treaty that ended the Great Collapse, humans never stopped preparing. They trained soldiers. They built ships. They kept watch on deep space. While other races rested, humans remained awake. Across the galaxy, people thought humanity was strange. They whispered that humans were too serious, too focused, too ready for things that would never happen. Some said humans were paranoid. Some said they were still stuck in old thinking. But humans did not change their ways. They had learned from history that peace was a beautiful thing, but it was also fragile. They protected it by being ready for the day it ended. The Council of Galaxies announced a grand celebration to honor the 3,000 years of peace. Leaders from hundreds of species gathered. They shared stories of progress and comfort. They praised how far they had come. People danced, traded gifts, and promised that this peace would last forever. But behind all the joy, far away from the council, something stirred. A long silent empire awakened. The Verkison, a warrior species once defeated during the Great Collapse, had slept in hidden systems, rebuilding in secret. Their leaders had grown angry watching the galaxy relax. They believed the peace treaty was a mistake. They believed the galaxy had grown soft, weak, and foolish. They believed the age of peace needed to end on the day of the celebration. While the council prepared a final ceremony, sensors across the galaxy detected strange signals. Faint at first, then stronger, then overwhelming. Ships appeared at the edge of known space, thousands of them. Warships, old symbols returned on their hulls. The Verkison Empire had returned. The celebration stopped. The music faded. The leaders froze. Messages flooded every screen in the galaxy asking the same question. What is happening? Who are they? What do they want? Everyone waited for answers. They expected diplomacy. They expected a message of negotiation. They expected something reasonable, but the message they received was not peaceful. It was cold and direct. The 3,000-year peace ends today. The Verkison Empire returns to claim what is rightfully ours. Prepare for war. The galaxy collapsed into fear. Worlds panicked. People screamed in the streets. Civilizations that had forgotten war felt their hearts freeze. They had no armies. They had no strategies. They had no courage for something like this. All they knew was peace, and now peace had shattered. Every leader on the council reacted the same way. They called their advisors. They begged for solutions. They asked for help. They searched old archives for information about the Verkison. But nothing gave them hope. The enemy was large, powerful, and hungry for conquest. Then someone asked the one question everyone else avoided. What about the humans? The council members fell silent. Humans were not at the celebration. They were still on their homeworlds watching quietly from afar. Many believed humans could help. Others believed humans were too aggressive and would make things worse. But no one could deny one truth. Humans were the only species that still knew war. The council sent a priority message to Earth, begging for assistance. The screen filled with worried faces from several species. They expected to find humanity in shock, fear, or confusion. But when the message reached the human command centers, the aliens saw something they never expected. Humans were smiling, not in joy, not in cruelty, but in a strange, confident way that the council did not understand. Human commanders stood in large control rooms. Soldiers ran drills. Officers studied star maps with bright eyes. A few people even laughed softly under their breath. The council members stared, confused and scared. Humans, one alien leader asked, did you hear the message? The Verkisen have returned. They declared war on the entire galaxy. Why are you laughing? A human commander stepped forward. He looked calm. Not worried. Not stressed. Just prepared, we heard he said. We have been preparing for this for a very long time. The aliens blinked. They could not understand. They had trained for nothing. They had forgotten fear, but humans had not. The commander continued. We knew the peace would not last. History repeats. Peace is beautiful, but it is never permanent. So we stayed ready. So words carried no anger, only truth. Your worlds have not trained for war in 3,000 years. You are not ready for this enemy, but we are, and we will not let the galaxy fall. The screen went silent. The aliens felt a strange emotion rising inside them. Hope. Humans were not panicking. Humans were not afraid. Humans were steady, like they had been waiting for this moment. In the Verkisen flagship. The alien leaders expected chaos across the galaxy. They expected surrender messages. They expected fear. But their scouts returned with a strange report. The humans are reacting unusually, the scout said. Unusually. How? They are preparing quickly, efficiently, with excitement. They do not seem disturbed by our declaration of war. Some of them appear. Amused, the Verkisen commanders exchanged uncertain looks. Their species was built on fear and dominance. They believed fear kept order, but humans were not afraid, and that confused them. The Verkisen supreme leader growled, If they are amused, they underestimate us. They will learn fear soon. But deep inside, even he felt something strange. It was not fear, but unease. He had studied humans only through ancient stories, and the stories were not gentle. Back on Earth, preparations intensified. Ships rose from hidden hangars buried under oceans and mountains. Massive carriers emerged from orbital docks. Fighter pilots ran simulations with perfect focus. Soldiers sharpened their skills with a kind of calm determination. Humans did not celebrate the coming war. They did not cheer. They did not boast. But they did not tremble either. The commander walked through the main war room, speaking to his officers. We do not fight because we enjoy it, he said. We fight because the galaxy needs someone who remembers what must be done. We fight so peace can return. Every officer nodded. Ships from human colonies began to assemble near the solar system. Fleets aligned in disciplined formations. The galaxy watched in awe as humanity's hidden strength revealed itself. No one had known how advanced humans had become. No one had imagined how far they had prepared. Centuries of training, planning, and building were now rising into the light. In every human city, people kept calm. They talked to each other. They supported each other. There was fear, yes, but there was also courage. Humans had a way of turning fear into determination. That was what made them different. As the Verkisen fleet moved closer, the galaxy held its breath. The age of peace was over. A new age was beginning, and the species that had never stopped preparing was ready to face it. The humans simply laughed, not because they liked war, but because they knew they had waited for this moment for 3,000 years. They were ready to protect the galaxy. They were ready to show who they truly were. The Verkisen ultimatum spread across every corner of the galaxy like a dark storm. Their message repeated on screens, satellites, and communication towers. Civilizations that had lived in comfort for generations felt a wave of cold fear. Many had no armies left, no defenses, not even basic training. Their worlds had become peaceful gardens, not places ready for war. Now those peaceful worlds felt fragile and exposed in every city. People crowded around public screens, watching the same harsh message flash again and again. The voice of the Verkisen commander echoed everywhere, strong and merciless. He demanded complete surrender of resources, territory, and obedience. He promised destruction for anyone who resisted. The people of the galaxy had forgotten what a real enemy sounded like. Now they remembered. While panic spread through most species, the humans prepared with calm. Their leaders formed a war council within hours. Their fleets moved into new formations. Their soldiers sharpened their focus. Humans did not waste a single minute. Even with the threat so large, they acted like they had trained for this exact moment. On one human command ship orbiting Earth, a group of officers watched live broadcasts from different worlds. They saw the fear in alien faces. They saw the shaking hands, the tears, the confusion. Humans felt sympathy, but not fear. They knew that their strength could protect others. They knew they had carried the burden of readiness for centuries. A young human officer looked at the main screen showing thousands of Vercassan ships. "They really think we are scared," he said quietly. The commander beside him smiled slightly. "Let them think whatever they want. It will make our job easier." Meanwhile, the Vercassan leadership expected humanity to surrender or panic. They remembered the old stories that painted humans as emotional and unpredictable. But the reports coming in from their spy drones confused them. The humans were not crying, begging, or running. They were preparing. On Earth, large training fields filled with soldiers in armor. Fighters raced across the sky. Mechs walked across deserts in formation. Even civilians trained in drills with calm discipline. Humanity stood together with a kind of unity that frightened their enemies, in the middle of one training zone. A group of alien diplomats arrived unexpectedly. They had traveled from the Council of Galaxies to beg humanity for help. When they stepped out of their shuttle, they saw hundreds of human soldiers running synchronized drills, moving with sharp precision. One diplomat, a tall creature with glowing blue skin, whispered, "They look ... ready. Like they expected this day." Another replied softly, "I think they did." Human commanders greeted the diplomats with respect. They listened to the council's fears and their desperate request for guidance. The diplomats expected humans to show frustration or demand something in return. But instead, the human commander simply said, "We will help you. We are already preparing our fleets." The aliens stared, shocked. "Why?" one asked. "You do not have to. This war is not your fault," the human commander replied, "because this galaxy is our home too. Peace belongs to everyone, and we will not let terror take it away." He paused, then added, "And because we knew this day would come." The aliens exchanged worried looks. They had not understood humanity before, but now they began to see something different. Humans were not reckless. They were not violent by nature. They were protectors who had never forgotten the price of freedom, while humanity organized their defense. Vercassan prepared their own attack. Their leaders gathered in a dark throne room aboard their flagship. Their supreme commander, a massive creature with iron-like scales, stood before his officers. "The galaxy has grown weak," he said. "They will surrender easily, but the humans, they are not acting as expected." One officer bowed. "Our scouts report that the humans are mobilizing. They appear confident." The supreme commander growled, "Confidence is not strength. They still remember fear. They still bleed. We will break them first." The Vercassan believed fear was a weapon stronger than any laser. They believed the humans' calm was only a mask. But doubt began to creep into their thoughts. Back on Earth, human technicians worked non-stop. Engineers built weapons and shields. Pilots reviewed battle plans. Scientists calculated enemy movement patterns. Every human knew their role, and they accepted it with quiet courage. In one of the large hangars, a senior pilot spoke to a group of young pilots. "We do not fight because we enjoy war," he said. "We fight because someone has to protect the others. The galaxy forgot what danger looks like, but we did not. And that is why we will win." The young pilots nodded with determination. As night fell on Earth, the stars above shimmered brightly. But there was something new in the sky mass of human ships rising into orbit. Thousands of them. Their engines glowed blue and gold, painting long streaks across the dark sky. People across Earth watched with mixed emotions. They feared for the future, but they also felt proud. In human cities, families gathered around screens to watch updates. Children pointed at the rising ships with wide eyes. Elders shared stories of old wars and human resilience. Everyone felt united by the same understanding. Humanity had trained for this moment not for glory, but for duty. Meanwhile, several alien worlds sent messages to Earth. Some begged for protection. Some apologized for ever doubting human intentions. Some offered supplies and ships, though their fleets were small. Humans responded with kindness. "You are not alone," the humans said. "We fight together." This promise gave hope to many. Dozens of small alien fleets gathered near Earth's defenses, looking for guidance. Human officers directed them, trained them, and integrated them into formations. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy saw true unity. But not everyone believed humanity's calm was a good sign. On a distant world, an old alien scholar watched the human preparations with a heavy heart. "If the humans are not afraid," he whispered, "then the Verkisson should be." The scholar had studied ancient human history. He knew humans were peaceful by choice, but they were warriors by necessity. He understood that humans did not laugh because they wanted war. They laughed because they had prepared for the worst and accepted it. By the next day, human fleets were fully ready. Their ships formed a massive wall of metal and light around the solar system. Every weapon hummed softly. Every pilot waited for orders. Every commander studied enemy movements with sharp focus. The Verkisson. Scouts approached the edges of human-controlled space. They sent new reports to their leaders. "The humans show no fear," a scout said. "They are organized. Their fleets are strong. Their discipline is high." The supreme commander of the Verkisson clenched his fists. "They think they can challenge us? They will learn soon." But even he felt something he had not felt in centuries: nervousness. The humans continued their silent preparation. No speeches. No celebrations. No arrogance. Just readiness. On one command ship, the human commander stood alone for a moment, looking out at the stars. He knew what was coming. He knew many would not return. But he also knew they had no choice. He whispered to himself, "Peace lasted too long. They forgot how to defend it. We will remind them." When he returned to the war room, he gave a simple order. "All fleets, hold position. The enemy will test us soon. I'll be steady. Be focused." The message traveled through every human ship. Pilots tightened their grip on controls. Soldiers adjusted their armor. Officers straightened their uniforms. The galaxy watched, still trembling from fear. They saw the humans not trembling at all, as the Verkisson fleet began its first movement toward human space. Many species prayed, but the humans only breathed deeply and prepared. The Great War was coming, and humanity was ready to face it with calm hearts, steady hands. The first strike came without warning. The Verkisson fleet moved like a dark wave across the stars, crossing into neutral territory with silent precision. Their ships covered the sky of a small colony world named Alarun. The inhabitants looked up at the dark shadows, feeling fear for the first time in generations. Alira 9 had no weapons. It had no military. It had lived in peace for so long that even old defense stations had rusted away. People fled to shelters, holding their children close. They prayed someone would save them. They prayed humanity had seen the approaching danger. And humanity had, before the Verkisson could even begin their attack. Strange energy signatures appeared on the far side of the system. Bright lights tore through space like arrows. Human ships arrived in perfect formation, hundreds of them, then thousands, forming a wall of steel and light. Their engines glowed blue and white. Their hulls reflected the faint light of Alira 9's sun. The Verkisson commander sneered. He believed humans were only pretending to be strong. He believed fear would break them. He sent the order. Attack. Destroy them. The alien fleet surged forward. Their weapons lit the darkness. A storm of energy blasts shot toward the human ships, but the humans did not move in panic. They did not falter. They moved like a single living creature. Human carriers opened their launch bays, releasing waves of fighters. Mechs with wings of metal and plasma engines flew in tight patterns. Human cruisers shifted into defensive grids, absorbing incoming fire with strong shields. Every movement was smooth, practiced, and calm. The Verkison had expected chaos. Instead, they found precision. Human pilots spoke through their channels. Target locked, squadron ready. On your signal, Commander. The human commander stood on his bridge, watching the enemy fleet through the holographic display. His voice was steady. To all units, advance. Keep formation. Protect the colony below. Like a rising storm, the human fleet moved. The first clash lit the sky with blinding flashes. Human fighters spun between enemy shots with impossible speed. They moved like their ships were parts of their bodies. Old stories said human pilots had unmatched instincts. And now the galaxy saw those stories were true. A Verkison officer shouted, "Their ships are too fast." They predicted our fire. The human ships responded with carefully aimed blasts. Their weapons were not wild or violent. They were controlled. Every shot hit its target with perfect accuracy. Enemy ships exploded one by one. The Verkison formation began to break. On Alaranine, people watched from windows and shelters. They had expected death. Instead, they saw a sky full of human ships fighting to protect them. Some cried. Some whispered prayers. Some simply held each other, amazed. One child asked his mother, "Who are they?" The mother whispered, "They are humans." Meanwhile, the Verkison commander grew angry. They cannot be this strong. Humans have been peaceful for thousands of years. A fear he had not felt in centuries crept into him. Fear of a species he did not understand. He ordered a full assault. All ships moved at once, firing everything they had. Their weapons rained down on the human fleet in a terrifying wave. The human formation trembled, but did not break. Human battleships shifted forward, taking the brunt of the attack with their strongest shields. Their metal armor absorbed the enemy fire. Engineers ran between systems, keeping everything stable. A human officer called out, "Shields at 80% and holding." The commander nodded. "Push forward." Human ships surged ahead. Fighters weaved through enemy lines, destroying engines and weapon systems. Mechs latched onto enemy hulls, cutting through armor with laser blades. Human cruisers fired volleys that shattered enemy formations. The Verkison had believed humans were soft, but they realized now humans were something entirely different. They were steady. They were precise. They were unstoppable. On the Verkison flagship, panic spread. We are losing ships too quickly. Their tactics are unpredictable. They are reading our movements before we act. The supreme commander of the fleet clenched his claws. Retreat. We must regroup. But it was too late. Human ships had circled around the enemy. They blocked every exit route. The Verkison fleet was trapped. Human commanders gave one final order: end it. A synchronized barrage of human weapons lit up the sky. One by one, Verkison ships exploded or surrendered. The entire battle lasted less than 1 hour. When the last enemy ship fell, silence filled space. Alaranine was safe. Human ships shifted into calm formation again, as if nothing unusual had happened. Medical vessels moved toward the wounded. Repair ships helped damaged alien cruisers. Humanity did not celebrate. They simply continued their duty. On the colony's surface, people stepped outside slowly. They looked at the sky, now calm and bright once more. A human officer broadcast a message to the colony. "You are safe now. Remain calm. Our fleets will hold the line." People cheered. Some fell to their knees in relief. The galaxy watched the battle through live broadcasts. Billions saw how humans fought. They saw the calm discipline. They saw the courage. They saw the strength that they had forgotten humans possessed. Messages poured into Earth. Please protect us. Teach us. Help us fight. The galaxy had feared humans once, long ago, but now they admired them. They trusted them. In a council chamber on a peaceful world, alien leaders gathered again. They replayed the battle footage over and over. One leader whispered, "Humans are not like us. They never forgot war. They never forgot danger, another replied. They did not fight with hate. They fought with purpose. A third asked, "What are they?" The eldest leader answered softly, "They are the guardians we never understood." Meanwhile, on the human flagship, the commander stood before his officers. "We protected the colony," he said, "but this is only the beginning. The Verkison will not stop with one attack. They will return stronger." An officer asked, "What should we do next?" "Prepare for a larger war," the commander replied. "We must help the galaxy build defenses. We must form alliances. We cannot fight alone forever." He paused, then added, "The Verkison will learn that humanity does not stand alone." The officers nodded. They knew humanity had shown its strength today, but the true challenge had only begun. Across the galaxy, the Verkison received news of their defeat. Their leaders were furious. They slammed their fists on metal tables. They shouted orders. They demanded explanations. How did humans defeat us so easily? Why did our tactics fail? What kind of training do these creatures have? Their high command realized something terrible. Humans were not soft. Humans were not weak. Humans were warriors who had been quiet for too long. The Verkison knew this war would not be easy. They had awakened a force they did not fully understand. Back on Earth, as the sun rose, human fleets reorganized. Pilots rested. Engineers repaired damaged ships. Civilians brought food and support to families of soldiers. People still lived their normal lives, but they lived with courage. They knew humanity stood against a great enemy. But they also knew they were ready. The commander watched the sunrise from his ship. He felt calm. He whispered, "Let them come. We are prepared." The galaxy had seen the first true battle of the new war, and humanity had stood unshaken. The next battles would be harder. The stakes would grow. But one thing was now clear to every species when the galaxy fell into fear. Humans rose with purpose. The war room was silent when the humans returned. Everyone stood around the glowing blue table, watching the growing red marks that showed alien fleets moving toward the solar system. The air was heavy, but the humans were calm. They looked like people preparing for a long but expected journey, not like people facing the first war in 3,000 years. Their expressions were steady, and no one looked scared. They only looked ready. General Arya walked along the table and studied the enemy movements. There were hundreds of alien ships, each one bigger than anything humans had seen in centuries. But she did not panic. She only took a deep breath and nodded, as if everything was happening exactly as she wanted. The Alien Council sent another message. And this time, it was not a threat. It was a promise of destruction. They told humans that peace had made them soft, that humanity had forgotten how to fight, and that the galaxy would finally be free of them. But after the message ended, the humans did not react with fear. They reacted with laughter. Some soldiers laughed softly. Some laughed loudly. Some even bent over, holding their stomachs because they could not stop laughing. The Alien Council did not understand that kind of laughter. It was the sound of humans who had seen destruction before, who had survived everything the universe had thrown at them, and who knew that peace did not weaken them. Peace gave them time. Time to grow. Time to prepare. Time to become something far stronger than the aliens could understand. General Arya raised her hand, and the room became quiet again. She spoke in a steady voice that carried across the room. "They believe we are weak. Let them believe it. It will make our victory easier." Commander Hale stood beside her and looked at the large hologram. He had seen the same arrogance from other species before. Some aliens always believed they were above humans, and each time they were proven wrong. He turned to Arya. "They think they can destroy Earth in one strike? Should we show them what Earth has become?" Arya nodded. "Yes, it is time." Outside the war room, the planets around the solar system were already preparing. Giant stations powered by the latest human energy tech activated. Massive robotic fleets woke from sleep mode. Defense rings around Earth began to spin, lighting up the sky with a soft blue glow. Civilian ships moved into protected areas while military ships formed perfect formations. Across Mars, factories worked fast. Machines built new weapons every second. On the moon, the underground hangars opened, revealing ships older than any living human. These were the ships that had protected the old Earth during the Dark Age before the 3,000-year peace. They were old, but they were powerful. Their engines roared like sleeping beasts finally waking. Human colonies across the outer planets sent messages, saying they were ready to defend the solar system. No one complained. No one hid. They understood that if Earth fell, they would fall too. In the center of all this preparation, a small group of humans sat in a quiet training hall. They were part of a special program known only by one name, the Vanguard. They were the strongest fighters humanity had created. Their weapons were simple but deadly. Their armor was light but stronger than alien metal, and their minds were trained to face anything without fear. A woman named Lyra stood among them. She was young, but she had trained harder than anyone. She wanted to protect Earth not because she had to, but because she loved her people. She believed that a peaceful world was worth fighting for. Their commander walked into the room and looked at all of them. "The aliens think we do not know war," he said. "They will learn how wrong they are." Lyra felt no fear, only determination. Meanwhile, the alien fleets continued their slow approach. Their leaders sat inside giant crystal halls, watching the humans prepare. They did not understand why humans were calm. They expected panic, chaos, maybe even surrender. Instead, humans prepared with quiet confidence. One alien general hissed in frustration. "Why are they not afraid? They should be afraid."
Oh.
Another alien, older and wiser, studied the data with narrowed eyes. Humans are unpredictable. They do not break the way other races do. Their peace might have made them stronger. We must be careful. But the younger generals ignored him. They believed their numbers were enough. They believed their technology was enough. They believed they were superior. Back on Earth, sky above the planet changed color as the defense rings completed their activation. The ancient AI that controlled Earth's core defenses woke from its deep sleep. Its voice echoed across the entire system. Defense Protocol Omega initialized, preparing for contact. On the ground, people in cities watched the sky glow. Children pointed at the colors with excitement. Adults looked with pride. No one hid in fear. Humanity did not fear war. They feared losing each other, and they would not allow that to happen. General Arya stood on the command bridge of the flagship. The Titan's light. The ship hummed with power. It was the largest human ship ever built, created during the early years of peace. Everyone had thought it would never be used for war. But now, it would lead the fleet. Commander Hale joined her. All fleets are in formation. The defense rings are stable. The outer colonies are ready. And the Vanguard is standing by. Adia gave a small smile. "Good. Then we will meet our guests properly." She opened a channel to the entire human fleet. "Today, they come to end our peace. They think we have forgotten how to fight. They think they can destroy us. But they do not understand humanity. We do not start wars, but we finish them. Stand strong. Protect each other. Fight for our peace. Fight for our home. Fight for humanity." When she finished speaking, every ship in the fleet activated their engines. The entire human armada moved forward, shining with blue light. The alien fleets saw the movement. They were confused. They expected humans to hide. Instead, humans flew toward them. The first alien commander hissed angrily. "They dare to attack us." But he did not understand. Humans were not attacking. They were greeting their enemy the only way they knew, with strength. Arya watched the enemy's ships grow larger in the distance. Her heart was calm. Her mind was sharp. She knew the first battle would decide everything. "Prepare for first contact," she said. The crew responded instantly. The Titan's light moved ahead of the fleet. The enemy moved closer. The space between them started to shake as energy built around both sides. And then, for the first time in 3,000 years, humanity stepped into a real war. But the humans did not fear it. They were ready. The first strike between the two Great fleets shook the quiet darkness of space. Blue beams from the human ships crossed against the red fire of the alien weapons. The shockwaves rolled across the battlefield, twisting the stars in their reflections. For a moment, everything was bright. Then everything went silent again, as both sides adjusted for the next attack. General Arya stood on the bridge of the Titan's light, watching every movement with sharp eyes. Her voice stayed calm even while the ship shook under the pressure of enemy fire. She had expected this. She knew their enemy would attack with full force at the start, hoping to break human morale. But morale was the one thing humans never lost. Commander Hale looked at the screens showing the alien fleet. Their formation was strong, but their attacks were predictable. It reminded him of the old wars humans used to fight, long before peace came. He knew that humans had one advantage the aliens did not: adaptability. They repeat the same pattern every 3 volleys. Hale said quietly. Arya nodded. Good. Let them continue. The more they repeat, the more mistakes they make. Another wave of energy hit the Titan's light, making the hull glow hot for a moment. But the ship's shields held firm. It was built to endure. It was built to survive. On the lower decks, engineers worked with fierce focus. They moved fast, checking circuits, stabilizing systems, and preparing the deep core engines for the next phase. These engines had never been used in war before. They'd only been tested during training. But now they would be used for something far greater. Outside the ship, the rest of the fleet fought bravely. Human ships moved like dancers, weaving through the enemy attacks with smooth precision. Even younger pilots who had never seen real war before moved with confidence. They did not fear the enemy's strength. They trusted their own. In another part of space, the Vanguard prepared for their mission. Lyra stood among them, checking her armor. The armor hummed with power, adjusting itself perfectly to her body. She felt lighter and stronger at the same time. Their mission was simple but dangerous: reach the enemy command ship and disable its control core. Her commander stepped forward. The alien fleet is strong, but their leaders are predictable. If we cut off their command channel, their entire formation will collapse. Lyra nodded. She felt the weight of the mission, but also the hope behind it. If they succeeded, Earth would have a chance to end the war early. If they failed, the aliens would crush everything. The strike ship carrying the Vanguard launched from its hangar. It was small and fast, almost invisible to enemy sensors. It shot forward through the battlefield, slipping between explosions and energy waves. Lyra held onto her seat as the ship shook. She took a deep breath and reminded herself why she was here. Humanity had lived in peace for 3,000 years. She wanted that peace back. She would fight for it. Back on the Titan's light, Arya watched the small blue dot, representing the Vanguard, disappear into enemy lines. She felt a moment of worry, but pushed it away. She trusted them. They were humanity's best. Hale pointed at the enemy's front line. They're moving in a spear formation. They want to break through and reach Earth's defense rings. Arya smiled slightly. Let them try. She raised her hand. Frontline units, prepare countermaneuver Alpha. On my mark. The human ships reacted quickly. They spread out, forming wide arcs that curved around the alien spear formation. The aliens advanced, believing humans were retreating. But it was a trap. Arya lowered her hand. Mark. At that moment, the human ships closed in from both sides with perfect timing. Energy beams fired from every angle, hitting the alien ships before they realized what was happening. Their formation broke instantly. Hale watched the screens. They're falling apart, as Arya said. And soon the Vanguard will finish the job. Meanwhile, Lyra's strike ship reached the enemy command vessel. Its dark metal surface looked alive, pulsing with strange red lights. The ship was bigger than any human vessel. It stretched into the darkness like a giant shadow. The strike ship docked silently onto a small blind spot on the alien hull. Lyra and her team stepped out. Their boots clicked softly against the strange floor. The air felt heavy, and a low hum vibrated through the hull. Stay close, Commander whispered. They moved quickly through the winding corridors. Alien symbols glowed on the walls, changing shape as they passed. They saw no guards at first, only long, empty halls. But then, a sudden screech filled the air. Alien soldiers appeared from the shadows. They were tall and armored, with sharp limbs and glowing eyes. They moved fast and attacked without hesitation. Lyra reacted instantly. She fired her weapon, sending blasts of blue energy into the nearest soldier. Her team spread out, fighting with controlled strength. The aliens were powerful, but the vanguard was trained for this. Their teamwork was perfect. Within minutes, the hall was silent again. The commander pointed forward. "We're close to the command core." They continued until they reached a large circular room. In its center floated a glowing orb of red light. It pulsed like a heart. "That's the control core," Lyra said. The moment they stepped inside, alarms blared. More alien soldiers rushed in. The team formed a tight circle around the core. The fight was intense. Energy blasts filled the room. The ground trembled under their feet. Lyra focused on the core. She knew what she had to do. She sprinted forward, sliding under an enemy strike. She reached the core and placed the disruption device on it. The device lit up. Device activated. She shouted. The core began to crack. Red lines spread across its surface. The entire ship shook violently. "Everyone out." The commander ordered. They ran back through the corridor as the ship began collapsing. Explosions shook the walls. The strike ship waited at the docking point with its engines running. Lyra jumped inside just as the corridor behind her exploded. The ship launched into space, racing away from the collapsing alien vessel. Back in the battlefield, Arya saw the enemy fleet suddenly break apart. Their ships stopped firing in sync. Their formation fell into chaos. Hale smiled. "They did it," Arya nodded. "Now we end this." She opened a channel to the entire human fleet. "Advance. Push them back. This is our moment." The human ships surged forward. Their weapons glowed bright as they fired in perfect rhythm. The alien fleet tried to regroup but failed. Without their command ship, they were confused and vulnerable. One by one, the alien ships fell. Some retreated. Some exploded. Some simply shut down. Within hours, the battle was over. The humans stood victorious. Arya took a deep breath. "Signal Earth. Tell them the first battle is won." Hal looked at her. "This war is far from finished," Arya said softly. "But today, we showed them who we are." Lyra's ship returned to the Titan's light. When she stepped onto the deck, soldiers cheered. She felt tired, but proud. She had fought for her home, and she would fight again if needed. The humans gathered on the bridge, watching the remains of the alien fleet drifting through space. For the first time in 3,000 years, humanity had faced war, and they had proven something important. Peace had not made them weak. It had made them unstoppable.